Carmen for being April's Member of the Month. Woo! Carmen, you excited?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very honored.
Yeah. It was funny. Zach was your biggest supporter or whatever.
Oh
He,
my
he's
gosh.
he was like, yeah, I'm gonna keep nominating Carmen until she's finally Member of the Month. And he did that for like 2 or 3 meetings, and we're like, okay, Carmen's gonna be Member of the Month next.
Thank you, Zach.
But Carmen, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I newly arrived to North Carolina, Raleigh area about 8 years ago.
Okay.
And I actually just live down the street. I'm at Ransdale Road, which is like the first road when we leave here.
Uh-huh.
And I am glad to be here. And I've just started, looking for places to exercise because I am a little bit have more time now. And I've seen your place so many years. I walk, travel up this road, and never really thought about CrossFit because to me it was not something that I could do.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not a very athletic person, and that's probably, when you see CrossFit, you see all the big guys, the muscle guys.
Yeah,
doing all
everyone
this
thinks
thing.
of the people they see on the TV
Yes.
or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, so that kind of puts you in a place where you're thinking, well, this is not something I can do.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I just like to have fun, and I am pretty much about family. I work, family, friends.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things also that draws me to come because of the atmosphere and the community that you and the coaches create,
Oh yeah.
and the people.
Yeah, it makes it more than just workout or whatever, right? You
Yeah.
come in, hang out with some friends, family, and then
Yes, correct.
go back to work. Sadly.
Yes.
Because you usually work out about like noon, so that's like your little like noon lunch
Yep.
break or whatever.
And I think a lot of us, I haven't had a chance because, pretty much we're here and all of us like rush in and then leave because a lot of us are going back.
What? Yeah, especially for the noon class. Y'all all get here like 2 or 3 minutes late because you were either outside on a phone call on a meeting or something like
Yes.
that, or you're trying to end on a meeting as you're coming in or whatever.
Yeah.
And then like half of y'all like leave early because you're trying to get back onto a meeting.
Correct.
Or whatever. It's really funny. Like it's like 12:03 and then like 12:57 or whatever sort of thing, and everyone's gone.
Yeah, I have noticed that I'm not the only one in the parking lot going, okay, guys, bye.
Yeah. Well, especially the noon class.
Yes.
Most of the other classes, people like that come in a little early, stay a little late, but the noon class, they're very like,
Yes.
we gotta get back to work. Yeah, and then so you work at the State Employees Credit Union, right?
Yes.
Awesome. And then how many years have you been on this earth or whatever?
I am 60 years old.
Yeah, 60 years young.
60 years, okay.
And then you moved up here from where?
From Miami, Florida. Actually was born in Caracas, Venezuela. My parents moved over when I was 7, so they didn't ask me to come.
Yeah,
to the
you
U.S.
kind of forced.
I kind of just, had to pack my bags with my mom
Yeah.
and my dad. And was raised in Miami, which I still love, South Florida. I miss it a lot. The culture and the weather, although I am acclimating, proud to say that I'm not, hanging around with the scarves anymore and my head covered. It's little by little.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
coming.
Getting used to the a little bit colder weather or whatever.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right, so which would you call home? Would you call Venezuela home or Miami, Florida home?
No, Miami because I was 7. So, I started school. I did go to second grade, up to second grade, but although Spanish is my first language, I, gravitate to the English.
Just because that's how you were in
My
school.
education, yeah. When I lived in Miami, when I came to Miami, it was different. I was actually the only Venezuelan in our school. We were the only Venezuelan family. There was a lot of people from Cuban descent. But even so, in the little part that we lived, it was more white Americans that were still there. Up until my high school. Then it became a little bit more blended. This would have been in the 73, 74. It was still mostly, you can find a lot of American-born people there. As we progressed, in the later 70s and 80s, and it was just an influx of Central and South Americans and more Cubans. And I did not live in the area where the Hispanics mainly were. So I think it just worked out that way that I just speak English more.
Yeah, yeah. And then what brought you up to North Carolina?
One of our kids actually, our oldest daughter, graduated from school, and she just put out applications. She's a social worker, and she works here for a nonprofit in Durham, Project Access. And so she came, and we had wanted to move actually to Morganton.
Oh, really?
Years ago, a long time ago, that was our plan to retire, move here right before we retired to acclimate ourselves and then stay there. But Natasha, our daughter, got a job here in Raleigh, so
Like, well, I guess I got to be a little bit closer to her.
yeah. Well, her dad actually came. He's a union person, an electrician, and he interviewed. We came up for Thanksgiving, and he left with a job.
Oh, wow.
Literally, he interviewed during Thanksgiving. January 2nd, he was here starting a job. And I had just managed to get my dream job as a compliance person. I worked at an international bank, and they were getting their license to be able to do business here in the United States. And it was just the perfect job, and then I had just been hired in September.
And you're like,
in
"See ya."
December, I had to tell them, guys, I am leaving. That was really tough.
Yeah, especially if that's your dream job and that's what you were really wanting to do and stuff.
That was as a compliance officer, that was it for me. I thought, man, I'm going to just live out my life here in Sabadell. This is going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what the plan was.
Well, at least it all worked out for the better. You end
Yeah,
up here,
I'm happy
right?
I'm here. Yes.
There we go. But that's crazy that he interviewed in Thanksgiving and then had a job in
Yeah.
January, and that wasn't really like the intent or anything like that. You were just kind of like putting feelers out there.
Yes.
And things like that.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And so speaking of jobs and stuff, what was the most embarrassing task you did at your first job?
Oh my God.
This was a Carmen question, so I'm really intrigued
my
to
gosh.
see what the heck this is.
Just on the flashback. And I was 15 years old, and I got my first job, and it was in a commercial shopping strip. So, Kentucky Fried Chicken was there, Burger King, all the food places.
Okay.
So this little place was a fried chicken place, and they had just started, and that's why they hired me that young, because they didn't have very many applicants.
Okay.
Because, in Florida, you're really not supposed to hire anybody until they're 16.
Okay.
But I was almost there.
Yeah.
So anyhow,
Close enough.
it's close enough. And so in order to, how the guys when they're doing the taxes and different things, where they go out there with their banners, and sometimes you have somebody with dressed up like the Statue of Liberty.
Oh yeah, like the sign flippers and things like that.
Yes.
Was that you?
No, the guy that used to be dressed up as a chicken.
Okay.
I mean, from top to bottom, the
Chicken costume.
the yellow tights, everything. First of all, he was 6 feet tall because it was a main strip, and here I am, 5'3". So he did not show up for work, and since I was a new kid,
They put you out there.
They put me out there.
Oh God.
Now, thinking about it now, after I told you about it, it's like, well, because I was in high school, but none of my friends would have known that it was me behind that chicken outfit, unless they knew that I worked for that chicken place.
Yeah, and then they noticed that the chicken was all of a sudden one day a lot shorter.
And my brother, who worked with me, he was also tall, but he was the one that told him, I gotta cook. If you put me out there, how are you gonna get the chicken on the plate?
Mm-hmm.
And so then everybody looked at me. It's like, no, you don't do this. But I did that for 3 hours that day.
Oh wow. Was it in the middle of Florida summer sort of thing?
It was in November. That's why I'm saying I was close to being, because my birthday's in May.
Okay.
So I was close to being 16. So it was November, which, it was okay. It wasn't the heat that got me. I was just out of my mind, embarrassed that I was out there. But thinking about it, nobody knew who was behind the chicken.
Yeah, because you were in the chicken costume and everything. They had no idea who you were. But that would have been even worse as if it was during the summertime in Florida. I mean, God, that would have been terrible.
Yes. Yeah. And they wouldn't, that was your shift. You were out there like that. In Chick-fil-A, I think about those kids, are they out there the whole 4 hours that they're working, or
Yeah,
do
or
they
whatever.
get to come back in.
But I think nowadays they got like actual like ice vests or whatever they use, and there's like a fan in there and stuff like that. So I think it's a little nicer now.
Yes, and they have the cover.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if anybody would know, this was like, it was a Capitol Boulevard, if you can imagine it, with just, 2 lanes coming and going.
Okay,
That
so really
was the
busy.
type of road I was on.
Mm.
And I was in the middle of the road. I was not on the sidewalk. He put me out there in the middle because everybody had to know that this chicken place was there.
Yeah, you're the most important employee that day.
Yeah, employee of the
Yeah.
of the year.
Yeah,